Today I just wanted to cover one of the basics. When you're dealing with yarn, a lot of times if you've done a project, you'll end up having your skein look about like this by the time you're done. And then it gets a little bit chaotic to try and use that yarn after that if you've stored it without balling it up. So I just wanted to show you how I ball up my yarn so that it stays relatively organized and doesn't get tangled with all of the other skeins. So usually what I do is I start by placing the end in my hand, holding it with my thumb, and then wrapping it around. And I like to keep my fingers just a little bit wide so that it's easy to get it off of my hand afterwards. So I'll do that for a while, depending on how much yarn I have. If I only have a little bit of yarn, I might actually only do 3 fingers in there, or sometimes I'll do 4 fingers but only wrap it a few times. So anyways, this time I have a decent amount left, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it just like that. And then when I get a nice grippable amount there, I'm going to just lightly slip it off and keep that flat together. So then I've got this string, and if you look on the back here, I'm holding it with one finger while I pull it around that opposite direction. So then I get to wind it around this way for a little while until it becomes more of a solid object rather than a bunch of little strings. And then what I usually try and do is make it so that the center of this area starts building up more round than the edges, because after this we're going to move on to actually balling it up rather than just winding it around the centerpiece. So a little bit more there, and then working on getting that center built up. All right, so now it looks more like a little oval. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it on the back with this finger while I wrap it around at a slight angle this time. I'll do that for a little bit, and then slowly work my way into going over this end piece there. And while I'm working over the end here, I'm usually trying to get it pretty close to going over the end on this backside over here as well. So then eventually we end up pulling it tight like that. And then a lot of times we'll have to hold it here for a minute until I get it wrapped around a few more times. And then as you start getting to the point where you're actually working around all of the different edges, you're going to just kind of rotate it a little bit. So now I've rotated it this direction. Oh, and you will run into little spots like this where you have to undo knots that just naturally occur as you pull it out of the skein, and that's okay. So we end up with it like this for a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and start doing the diagonal from this direction as well. Let me pull this out a little bit more. Oh, there's a nice tangle. Most times, if this is a skein that's just been freshly pulled from center, you will have a few snags, but you're not going to run into really bad rat's nests. So, all right, so here we are. We're doing the diagonal there, and then we're going to do the diagonal here. You can see it's starting to look a little bit more like a ball. And then basically what I end up doing is, just as I work on wrapping it around, I use this hand to kind of pivot it a little bit as I wrap, just so that it kind of starts turning like a dial around there. So anyways, well, I'm coming to another snag, but basically if you just keep on going around, and then once you've made a full turn that direction, you can pivot it a little bit and do it that way, pivot it some more, and you just kind of keep working that way all the way around until you come to the end of your yarn. And then by the end of that, you should have a fairly evenly round ball that you can tuck away. I actually like to keep mine in a large glass vase with all the rest of the balls of yarn. So ends up being kind of a fun multicolor look. But anyways, if you have any questions about balling up yarn, or if there's something else you'd like me to cover, either in basics of crocheting or just some basic yarn activities, let me know, and I can try and cover that next time. Thanks for watching.